Okay. Haribo, everybody. Please excuse my glasses, which I see creates a kind of weird reflection. I'm here at Ayurvedic Panchkarma Clinic, and they, I told them that, my eyes are always dry, so they're also giving me a treatment for the eyes, and they make a brace with dough, and they fill it with medicated ghee. And then you have to look and blink into the medicated ghee. And then, and that lasts about 10, 15 minutes, but you're not really supposed to look at a screen. I finished it about an hour and a half ago, at least for 2 hours. Your eyes are very sensitive. So therefore I have this super, super cool look that rarely you'll see me with. The clinic is really first class, and I mean it's not luxurious, but it's first class. Incredibly well managed. I figure this is something I should do every 5 years or something, clean out the body completely. But everything about it is first class, and the people who run it, they really respect. I'm here with some other senior Vaishnavas. They really respect a lot. And what they say is, and I speak to them, is that in their system of Ayurveda, which is in addition to the other systems, there's plants, because I had a treatment today, there's plants that grow here that grow no other place in India or the world. So I'm doing something for my health, although it's quite good, like Prabhupada's grace. Okay, I may close my eyes sometimes too. Reading from the, and thank you all for coming. It's great to see everybody. Madhya-lila 9, text 40. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Prabhura prabhāve loka āila daraśane. lakṣārbuda loka āise yāya gaṇane. Due to the influence of Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu, many millions of men came just to see him. Indeed, the assembly being unlimited, its members could not be counted. Om Jnana-timirandasya gaṇanjana shalakaya taksur-udmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishnam Stapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasade Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sometimes I just tell a little bit about what I'm doing, and You remember, if you read my Monday morning greetings, I wrote one article, The Tale of Shlomo, about an older Jewish man that by chance, he was in Agra and he found some advertisement on the floor and he came to Vrindavan. And he came before the deities and looked at Radha Shyam Sundar and began to cry uncontrollably in ecstasy. And it says in the Nectar of Devotion that the Panchanga Bhakti, the 5 most powerful items of devotional service, are so powerful that if one does them without offense, one could get, one who is a neophyte, meaning no attachment, can get bhava, which is profound attachment. And that's what happened to him. Because from that time on, he had 3 daughters. They came to, he passed away, they came to see him. He was a good father. He just remained completely faithful and committed to Krishna consciousness. And I don't know, for the last 5 or 10 years, he just decided, I just want to leave in Vrindavan, that's all. And I don't want to live in a kind of a dependent mood. And he used to be in this place, Kanaka-ashraya, which if you come into the Russian building, the last building on the right, it's right after Bhakti Dham. And he was crippled, he needed 2 crutches. And every morning it would take him 30 minutes to go to the temple, and they have a chair from the back and he would look at the screens where they would show the deities. And noble, faith. And it was great. Faith, it was faith. How many people could do that? I'm just going to leave in Vrindavan. And, family, everything. He was already older. He just took a kind of sannyas in his own way. So, Bibhishan. And he was very, very protective. So then there's 2 ladies in Vrindavan. Now they're in their 30s, but in Israel. And they served him till the end. It was really nice. Now, we're following Lord Caitanya in the Madhya-lila, and he's converting people. Bharate bhumate hoila manusha janma yara janma sartaka kara para upakara. One who was born in India is very fortunate. Not as fortunate as before, but it used to be extremely fortunate to be born in India. You were born in a culture that just nourished faith in God and spiritual life like no place else in the world. And when you get something, you have to give something. So then they have great responsibility upon people born in India to give the beauty of what they have in their culture, especially Krishna consciousness. And Lord Caitanya was a charja. So one who's a charja and he sits on the seat, it's mentioned in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, he has to sit and be able to defend the principles against all other philosophical challenges. But Lord Caitanya just traveled around South India, also setting the example of sannyas, of dependence on Krishna. The third stage of sannyas is prabhura. Sannyas means to die while living. And really it means death of ego, the material conception of life. I'm the enjoyer, I'm the controller. So you ideally put yourselves in situations where you have to be dependent on Krishna so that you see Krishna's mercy. And it's not covered by your own efforts that make you think that I'm the maintainer and controller. So one first leaves the house and his family brings him food, and after a while, they stop bringing him food. And he has to do madhukari. Madhukari means like a bee. You go to different places and you beg and just for food. And then after a while, then prabhura, you wander around and you have nothing. What comes is clearly just the mercy of God. And that's what an advanced devotee is. He knows that it's coming by God, so he spends most of his time, Vaishnava Brahmin spends most of his time just chanting and hearing and preaching and serving Krishna. And, if some of you read my book, The Republican Vaishnav, not my book, my article about my good friend, Graham Hatrick, the Karna. He just wrote a book called The Karna and the Cross. And father of Monica Moore, who was on Raghunath's tours. So recently I just kind of looked him up and I saw he was on a television show. And it was actually describing how he came back to Christ, basically by his daughter coming home from India and reading the Bhagavad Gita. And understand, he was explaining it on this show, how one has to do his duty, etc. But one point he made that I thought was very significant. He said, because he's a conservative, so whether it's true or not, they do tend to have a kind of an apocalyptic, something like that, view of the world. So people should save food, and it may be true. I mean, things don't look too good, but you have to save food and save it. He said, that's okay, he said. But really what you have to do is you have to have a spiritual capacity to deal with the world, not try to control it. Nice realization. And then the final stage is paramahamsa. The sannyasi just sits in one place, never makes any endeavor for anything, and sees that Krishna still provides. So we see Lord Chaitanya's sannyas, and he's moving and he doesn't have any direction. And in one sense, he doesn't need much direction because sarvasya chaham hridisani vishto matasmitir gana. Krishna is situated in everyone's heart, and from him comes remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. And he's not judging his movements by where he can control and enjoy the world more. And when you shift to the platform of service, Narayana parasarve nakutas chanya bibyati swaga pavaga narakeshu api tulyat daraśane. It really doesn't matter it really doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in heaven or hell. Narayana prasarve, as long as you have that feeling of devotion, every circumstance, every circumstance is an opportunity to serve Krishna. When Professor Matthew Dasti, otherwise known as Mahamuni Das, sent me this one philosophy book, Epictetus, one of the Stoics, brilliant. The Stoics are brilliant. Socrates was from that tradition, a lot of wisdom. And I really took shelter of a statement in the book when I was getting sick during COVID and different things, political things, whatever happens. I took shelter of a statement: happiness and distress, health, sickness, slander, praise, it all comes from God, so why should we care? Marchas, sparshas, takonteya, sitoshna, sukha, dukha, agama, payano, nityas, tams, titchas, bharata. The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course of time is like the changing of the summer and the winter seasons, and one should learn to tolerate. But as he's doing his sannyas, he's also a devotee of the Lord. So he wants to enlighten people. Real compassion and real preaching comes from the experience of Krishna consciousness. If you don't have the experience of Krishna consciousness, then why will you feel for people who are lacking it? That's the impetus. It's compassion based on experience. How can people not have the holy name of Krishna? How can people not have Krishna consciousness? That's their experience. So there's this natural desire to give it. And we see that in Lord Caitanya. And when someone has that sincerely in the heart, then as it said here, prabhāve, they have a lot of potency just by seeing them. What does this person have? Sushrushro shradhanasya vasudeva katha richi syat mahatsevana vipra punya. By serving the devotees, it's so pious. And you get attachment to Krishna, because when you see real devotees, you start to think, what do they have? What are they doing? What do they have? What are they doing? And people should see us and have that effect. What do they have and what are they doing? And then you start to do what they do. And that's one of the ways that Krishna consciousness spread. One of the ways that Christianity spread, and this is historical fact, was the martyrs. They had such an experience with Jesus that giving up Jesus was more pain than the torture they experienced. And people saw this and thought, what do they have? How do I get it? So Lord Caitanya, so many people are coming, and there was influence. And it was recorded in the diary of Srila Dhanurdhara, and then Raghunath Das, and Krishna-katha began to write about it. And we're reading it. Gosanira Sodarya Deki Tate premavesh, shabe Krishna kohe Vaishnava hoila sarvadesh. The Lord's bodily features were very beautiful. And in addition, he was always in the ecstasy of love of Godhead. Simply by seeing him, everyone began chanting the holy name of Krishna, and thus everyone became a Vaishnava devotee. So in one sense, culturally, it was a very receptive audience because people could acknowledge spirituality and spiritual elevation, even if it wasn't their own faith. There was certain broad, that's why it says in the Bhagavatam, Mahat Sevam Dvaram Ahurva Mukte, service to the great souls is the door to liberation. And Prabhupada writes impersonal or personal. Because good impersonalists, not ones that are envious of Krishna, Brahmavadis, they're also impressive. They're in the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness is impressive. We're here with Dhanurdhara Swami. And I was with him. I read with him every day. We're reading Nam Tattva in Jaiva Dharma. So it's just me and him. And we're reading it. And he was right. He just got this letter just as I came in, and it was this devotee from Uzbekistan who considers him his guru. And he was so excited the person was coming. He said, the person, you love him, Marge, he's so sattvic. He's so sattvic. He said, many people want to take initiation from him. He has such an influence. So there's prabhāve, there's influences, there's subtle influences also. There's just what you see, what you feel. There is different energies that come. What to speak of someone with mahabhav. We become influenced if we see. My good friend Henry is there. He could tell you, Jamuna Devi lived in his house for 2 years. Seeing her, feeling her, her devotion. Powerful thing. I remember visiting his house. I stayed there for a couple of days on the 20th anniversary with Joe Cayley, who was Jamuna Devi's assistant. Powerful. Just being in the presence of someone like that. And and the Lord, his beauty was a manifestation of his love. Because the beauty of God is wanting to please his devotees. So his beauty has intention, his beauty has love. And he was always in the ecstasy of love of Godhead. So seeing him, everyone began to chant the holy name. And they became Vaishnavas. I don't know if Lord Caitanya had enough time to stay there and instruct them, but he convinced them to become devotees. But besides that influence, there's also the philosophy. And I think most of us, we've come to Krishna consciousness. We've come to Krishna consciousness. Our faith was two things. One was the experience, and one was the philosophy that validated the experience and the authority of those who have outlined the life and the practices that give that experience, with the promise of that experience deepening. So the philosophy, we're so fortunate. We know it. We have a philosophy that can guide, and if we follow it, can guide every aspect of our life and has an answer for everything. So Lord Chaitanya also performed the role of an acharya formed the role of an acharya by meeting the challenges of other philosophies, which maybe had some place, but weren't the complete truth, or they were confusing people about the truth. So that's also going to be explained here, how Lord Chaitanya met. So, Tarkika Mimamsaka Yatamayavadigan Shankya Patanjala Smriti Purana Agama. There are many kinds of philosophers. Some are logicians who follow Gautama or Kannada. Some follow the Mimamsa philosophy of Jaimini. Some follow the Mayavadi philosophy, and others follow Kapila's Sankhya philosophy or the mystic yoga system, Patanjali. Some follow the Smriti Shastra composed of 20 religious scriptures, and others follow the Puranas and the Tantra Shastra. In this way, there are many different philosophers. Nija Shastra Grahi Shabai Prachanda Sarvamata Dushi Prabhu Kari Kanda Kanda. All of these inherents of various scriptures were ready to present the conclusions of their respective scriptures. But Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu broke all their opinions to pieces and thus established his own cult of the Bhakti based on the Vedas and the Vedanta, the Brahma Sutra, and the philosophy of Chintya Veda Veda Tattva. So this was the Acharya. Sarvatrastapaya Prabhu Vaishnava Siddhante Prabhura Siddhanta Keha Na Parikandite. When Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu established the devotional cult everywhere, no one could defeat him. Hari 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 Prabhu Mate Karina Pravesh E Mata Vaishnava Prabhu Koila Dakshina Desh. Being thus defeated by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, all these philosophers and their followers entered into his cult. In this way, Lord Chaitanya made South India into a country of Vaishnavas. I'm thinking, again, I don't know if he made him necessarily Gaudiya Vaishnavas. South India is mostly, for the Vaishnavas in South India, are mostly Sri Ramanuja and Madhva. And there also are acharyas, even though there's slight difference. Yeah. Pashandi āila yata panditya suniya garbhakari āila shange shisha ganalaya. When the non-believers heard of the erudition of Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, they came to him with great pride, bringing their disciples with him. So I think they thought maybe they would defeat him. Because we know from the Caitanya-caritamrta that the main sport, so to speak, was scholarship, two scholars. And if one loses, you practically have to become the disciple of the other person. So there were people called Vijay. Dig means direction, and Vijay means to conquer. There were people that conquered the different directions, and they would come and challenge people, and they would bring their disciples to see. So this sometimes happened, and they're going to describe one sect that came. Bodhacharya Mahapandit Nijanava Mate Prabhura Age Ugraha Kari Lagila Balite. One of them was a leader of the Buddhist cult. He was a very learned scholar. He was a Mahapandit, not just a Pandit, a great Pandit. To establish the 9 philosophical conclusions of Buddhism, he came before the Lord and began to speak. You know, when I went to the university, and I wasn't a serious student. It's anything I write that has any sense, anything that I speak that has, it's all Prabhupada's mercy. I wasn't at all like a good, brilliant student. I didn't care so much about my studies, but somehow I had to choose a major, and I chose philosophy. You had to choose one, and I went into one class, and it was going to be about Buddhism. Somehow I wound up not taking the class. I don't know why. I think you could try out. And the person stood there. He said, you know, you may have any conception that you have. He said, but by Buddhistic understanding and logic, we will be able to dissect any conception you have. And I was, you know, we were young and fired up. I was ready to take him on. I just had so much confidence in Krishna consciousness. I was ready to take him on. My Kshatriya spirit was there. Okay, let's go. I'm ready. Somehow I couldn't take that course, but I was ready. Then I had this other philosophy, because I don't even remember it. The professor actually was Persian, and he was an absolute debauchee. And you saw that these beautiful girls didn't come to class and gave good grades. And one time in class, he said, pleasure is sense gratification. And I raised my hand and I said, if pleasure is sense gratification, will eating an ice cream cone cure depression? I argued with him after class. Nonsense. So, persons establishing Yadyapi asambhashya bhoda ayukta dekite tatapi balila prabhu garva bandite. Although the Buddhists are unfit for discussion and should not be seen by Vaishnavas, Caitanya Mahāprabhu spoke to them just to decrease their false pride. Should not be seen. We're not like that. Again, it's a different culture. The principle is there. People were very pure. And when you're pure, contamination becomes more prominent and you're more concerned with it. You know, what you eat, who cooks it, you're more concerned with it. A clean glass of water, any spot of dirt can be seen, you know, a clean room, anything out of place, cluttered room, you don't notice it. So like that, the association and what you hear, just like I had one god brother, he's very advanced. He lives in Govardhan, did a lot of preaching. He's not in Govardhan now. Actually, he's being treated for cancer in his prabhura Desh. And I really like this book. To this day, I do. It was written by this Grihasta, great Vaishnava scholar. And it was the glories of the holy name. And it was amazing, presenting our philosophy, Nam Kirtan, even over Smaran and why. And, but, there were like minor differences. It didn't mind, it's small, just a little bit different Bhav. But I used that book when I wrote the paper I wrote, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta and Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti. But my godbrother immediately gave it back to me because the mood was different. And then he told the other godbrother I gave it, who returned it to me. So you can understand their sensitivity. Because Buddhists are atheists in the guise of spiritualists. Tarika Pradhan Buddha Shastra Navamate Tarke Kandila Prabhu Napari Stapite. The scriptures of the Buddhist cult are chiefly based on argument and logic, and they contain 9 chief principles. Because Sri Chaitanya defeated the Buddhists in their argument, they cannot establish their cult. So there's 9 principles. The creation is eternal, and therefore there is no need to accept the creator. This cosmic manifestation is false. I am is the truth. There's repetition of birth and death. Lord Buddha is the only source of understanding the truth. The principle of nirvana or annihilation is the ultimate goal. The philosophy of Buddha is the only philosophical path. The Vedas are compiled by human beings. Pious activities, showing mercy to others, and so on are advised. So it is purport. And I'm going to have to end a little bit early again today. In next week's class, I'm going to speak to Rati. It may have to begin maybe a half hour later. Hope that doesn't inconvenience anyone. Because we really became friends with this Dr. Soji. They're really sattvic and beautiful people. And they're really happy that me and some of my godbrothers are here. And we met the founder, who has a place in Switzerland, really evolved. So we saw his family, how beautiful. And they're all born Christians. I'm hearing Om and all these sounds here. I forgot my point, but oh yeah, yeah, right. Somehow the schedule, I'll have to go. I was going to say next week, the reason I have to be later, they have another place where they grow their own herbs. And I think the potency of this place is that they grow their own medicine. And I even was listening to a tape to Prabhupada. He's saying there's a herb that cures everything. And he gave an example that he had this incredible pain in his tooth, and he went to the dentist and no one could do anything. And then he went to the forest and saw some sadhu who gave him an herb, and he put it on the tip of his tongue. Prabhupada said, I've seen it. Put on the tip of my tongue, and it drew all the poisons out of my mouth. I myself got cured of jaundice, severe jaundice, that doctors said would take 6 months. In 2 days, by a housewife in South India who chanted, ordinary housewife who chanted mantras and over some water and poured it over my eyes, and the yellow came out. So it's pretty amazing. Well, what Prabhupada he's going to do, he's going to defeat the Buddhist arguments and implore us that although you can't get to the absolute truth by argument, you have to defend the absolute truth by argument. So, and he talked about logic, just by law. You can't understand God by logic because he doesn't operate under the laws of cause and effect, which are the basis of logic. That's why we can know him by Shastra and we can realize him by practice. And by following the principles of Shastra, we can get faith in the Shastra that point to his nature, which we can accept. But you can't ascend to that. You can't ascend to that reality. Tadejati, tadnaijati, tadure, tadvantike, tarantarasya sarvasya, tarusavasya bhayata. He walks, he don't walk, he's inside, he's near and far. God doesn't conform to rules because that would make rules greater than him. God comes to his being and nature by his will. So you can't come. So the Buddhist is all by logic. They're trying to determine reality, but they fail because the ultimate reality is not under the confines of the rules of logic. Prabhupada said, therefore, the preachers of Krishna-katha should be prepared to defeat other arguments, just as Sri Caitanya Mahāprabhu did. In this verse, it is clearly said, Tarke Kandiya Prabhu, Lord Caitanya put forward such a strong argument that the Buddhists could not count him to establish their cult. So we'll deal today with the first argument. The first principle is that creation has always existed. But if this were the case, there could be no theory of annihilation. The Buddhists maintain that annihilation, a dissolution, is the highest truth. If the cosmic creation exists eternally, there's no question of dissolution or annihilation. This argument is not very strong, but because by practical experience, we see that material things have a beginning, a middle, and an end. The aim of the Buddhist philosophy is to dissolve the body. This is proposed because the body has a beginning. Similarly, the entire creation manifestation is a gigantic body. But if we accept that it always exists, there be no question of annihilation. Therefore, the attempt to annihilate everything in order to attain zero is an absurdity. For our own practical experience, we have to accept the beginning of creation, and we accept the beginning, we must accept the creator. Okay, it's 7:15. We can just, Jaya will start. If there's something that...
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for class. There were actually a lot of things, especially that last thing about the annihilation. That's like a real, that sort of thinking really sparked me. But I loved what you said about the mode of goodness, the mode of sattva is impressive. And I was just thinking, about how you were saying about the culture, and you said this earlier. Last night at the Bhakti Center, they have this thing called Soul Talks. And it's geared towards very new people. And these two young men came in middle 20s. And it was clear that they were very impressed by it. It was basic Bhagavad Gita 101. And it was just in their culture to sort of sit there and listen, I could tell. And afterwards, they served a meal. And the first thing they did was hop up and say, how can we help? And Vrajarani, who was running the program, said, you could scrub the pots. And they're like, yes. And it was just so clear that they were already in the mood of sattva from their upbringing. And so I could see them being receptive.
Were they Indians?
Yes, they were. And that's what making me think everybody else is sitting enjoying the meal. And they were asking questions. And the minute they were like, how can we help? And Vrajarani said, can you scrub pots? Of all the things. And I'm like, yes, of course we will.
Oh, yeah,
and so
yeah.
That was a perfect example of what you were saying. I just thought.
Dharmasya yapavargasya. Dharma is meant for liberation. But how is it meant for liberation? Because when you're cultured in that type of society, it's in your blood to welcome sadhus into your home. Just like when I go up to the Krishna kitchen and Hari is there.
Mm-hmm.
He won't charge because I'm a sannyasi. He'll give a donation. You know, anybody that comes with me, it's in their blood. So so it becomes, that culture becomes receptive. Who gave the class?
Actually, I did.
Good. You're hearing, and then you have to repeat. Great.
Yeah, it was about Bhagavad Gita 13:8-12, talking about what is knowledge. And so they were very, very receptive.
You're on every class, you're listening, and of course you repeat. Okay, a few other people that just say hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, you know, you tell that story all the time about your philosophy teacher. I was wondering if you ever got an answer from him about the ice cream.
He was stumped.
Wow.
But he had the seat, so he kind of mumbled a few things. But I pursued him after class.
Mm-hmm.
And I concluded he was an absolute rascal.
Okay. Yeah, I was always wondering how that story ended. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I recircle that every 5 years, so there may be some new people that didn't hear it. You heard it 10 times. Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, obeisances.
Well, I'd like to see your books and your writing place. Great. Okay, nice to see you. Thank you. Haribo. You like my cool glasses?
New style.
Okay. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Krishna-katha. Thank you very much. I liked and enjoyed greatly when you said that Lord Caitanya attracted people by his beauty, and that was to please his devotees. And the source of his beauty is his love. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That's great. Okay, a few more people, quickly, say hello.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thanks for the class. Surya Radhika here. Yavat Sundari. Hare Bol Maharaj. Thank you very much.
I got a nice letter from your friend Satya.
Oh, wow. She's now in
really
TV, enjoying her time.
She's finding herself, yes. Okay. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Krishna Guru Maharaj, Namaste to you. Thank you for the class.
Haribo. See you soon. Couple weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll be wonderful. We'll have a great time. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Garaj, Slow Govinda. Thank you for class.
We'll see you also at the end of the month.
Counting down the days.
We're going to do an initiation during the retreat on the 5th.
Oh, nice.
And Raghunath, you're going to have to be there and set it up for him. He'll provide you so that when he comes, we can begin on time, because we have to begin on the auspicious time.
Okay, great.
So
yeah.
you'll be helping him.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Gumaraj, Gopinath here.
Thank you, Shori Radha.
Haribo.
Haribo. We like your glasses too.
I love them. I think it's a new style for me.
All right.
I'm thinking of getting a motorcycle too. Okay. Haribo.
Krishna Maharaj, Shyam Kishore, Das.
Haribo.
And Hamalatara Devida. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class, Maharaj.
Nice to see both of you, and we'll just see you in a couple of weeks.
Hopefully.
We're really getting some really, I don't know. I wasn't sure that I would get a Madanga player, so I invited different ones and they all wound up coming.
Jai.
Jai.
You may be able to get, Shyam Kishore, you may be able to get some really good lessons too. There's some really good.
Oh,
people
great.
coming.
Great, Maharaj. Really appreciate it.
Okay, anybody else say hello?
Thank you, Maharaj. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, Amala Vaishnava, thank you for class.
Hey, Amala, Haribol, we'll see you also. A lot of people are coming to different times. We have that whole ashram filled up. The whole ashram is filled up already. It's great. Amala, you're gonna go deep.
I hope so.
It's gonna change your life.
Good, I need a change.
Okay, anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Guru Devan. Hare Krishna. Thank you for your work.
Can't see who that is. Amala, Haribo. Good to see you. Thank you for coming on class. Okay. One more, and then I go. Okay, I will go down and take dinner. I've actually, the last 2 days, they've just been serving me kanji. Because I did one of their purification things, so. Okay, Haribo, bunch of